throughout time there's a number of great artists, and we always sort of think, oh, wouldn't it be marvellous if we were living at the time that they were living so we could see their new work, their fresh work, their best work. But I think with Richard Schmid's work, we're fortunate that we are or were living in his time. I consider him one of the great painters of this and many generations, actually. I think where Richard was able to learn and look and study the great masters, whether it was Sargent or Mancini or Nikolai Feshin, and he was able to extract what he wanted and then, I believe, take it another step further. And I think that's one of the great beauties of now the digital age, is that we can get beautiful colour images via either online, or I do really love having the physical book as well. So I did receive the Portrait and Figure Paintings book just recently, and I haven't really delved into it greatly. What I've tried to do is, for this presentation, is go in a little rawer so I can have a more brand new feeling as to my reaction to that painting, because a lot of them I won't have ever seen, or I should say many of them I haven't ever seen before. So the actual one on the front cover, I've actually seen this original. It's just a spectacular painting in the book, of course, but in real life it is amazing as well. So that is another little thing that I'm able to bring to this, is the fact that I'm able to actually almost report on what the painting looks like and its size. So it's, from memory, it's close to about a 20 by 30 at least. So it's a marvellous size painting. And it's hanging in one of the rooms in Richard and Nancy's house. So let's delve in and have a good look. So we have the main page here. And interesting thing is, when Nancy and Richard were talking about the portrait book and the figure book, I thought it was more just going to be portrait painting. But the great surprise was that there's actually landscapes, there's where he talks about hands and all the different aspects of painting the figure. And there we have a marvellous one of a gentleman leaning on the carriage. So it's really a street scene, urban scene, but with the figure as well. And that horse is painted in quite a difficult, with his head bent around. And I think that's what I think Richard did so beautifully. Not only the everyday scene or the social scene that we'd all be fairly familiar with, sort of family gatherings or settings, but he painted the technically difficult ones most of the time, but he made them look so easy. And I think that's the fantastic part. So we have the one of Nancy here in a great pose, actually framed up by the little painting in the background. I'd never seen this painting before, so it was marvellous to see. And I think from you may have seen some of the study paintings, and I did do a small study painting of Richard's in about 1998, 1997 maybe, and that was extremely enlightening. And from doing the recent one, I think the thing that it really does bring home to me is his use of his midtones and darks. A lot of times we're always driven to that nice highlight on the hair or the light of the frame, but it was his amazing ability and drawing and shapes and interconnecting shadows. I think for me that's the marvellous thing, where with this one you can see how the figure is almost tying in with the frame and the darks. So he was not only using the darks in the painting behind to propel Nancy's hair towards the viewer, but he was joining those shapes up as well. And I think that's, for me, the coding, the real spice to, and the real brilliance to his work, was to be able to go to that next level, but of course make it look not on the odd occasion, on 99% of occasions. I don't think we're all perfect or infallible, but he just got there so often. And I remember Bono's comment on Roy Orbison, and I put almost Roy Orbison's voice up with Richard's paintings. Bono said that quite often as a singer, you know when the song is great, you're vocally performing at that next level. And he said Roy Orbison did it so damn often, where he felt he got it a few occasions and a number of occasions, but I think Richard does that so often. He went to that next level with his work, with his edges, which he's super, super famous for. I think he put the concept of edges really on the market, or in the ether, in the educational, artistic lexicon for all artists. I think we were all using them, but we didn't understand their importance, I believe. So now we move to another one of Nancy painting, but you can see when I'm talking about those uses of his midtones and darks and the lovely edge there. So once again, quite a monochromatic painting, and I think that's probably the other one takeaway. Richard's work is favouring more being monochromatic overall, but he still had a beautiful sense of colour, and I think that's really where you do need to really try and see some of his originals as well, because the amazing little subtleties. And it's funny, I was just about to mention his use of blue, and in this painting, the soup pot, you can see these lovely little accents of blue coming through. I believe he did have a particular paint, a tube of colour. I'm not sure if it was phthalo blue or definitely wasn't cerulean, and I'd have to double check on it, but you can almost see it come through in some of the little purples as well. So it looks like he's unified the painting with that blue purple. I remember Nancy mentioning it, and I hadn't actually ever noticed it before, and I think that was actually the extra bonus of seeing it, the original in real life. So now let's have a look at this. Freya and Oscar. I'm not sure who they are, but they just a beautiful little setting. The two figures there, and I'm guessing they were because with children and kids, you really need to be fairly comfortable with them for them to be comfortable. And I think so they must have been close to Richard, and with a bit more, they are the grandchildren of my friends Penelope and John Adams, so they were very good friends, grandchildren. So I've got the colour chart there, which is his palettes up. I think it would most likely be the cobalt blue light, having a look at that colour chart there. And actually there's a little bit of that cobalt violet. I think if we just go back quickly, there's the violet and there's the cobalt blue light. Actually, I've always used more ultramarine. I have experimented with a little bit of phthalo blue myself recently, just to give myself a little more diversity. And I think actually as a painter, we've got to be careful that we don't become too acclimatized or too reliant on a particular colour, whether it's magenta and I know quite a few artists have done that and do that in their work. And I've realised for my own work that it's now a great time for me to now experiment with, the phthalo blue. I have used King's Blue from Michael Harding, which is really just a 50% French ultramarine blue and 50% titanium. So it's not really a move away from what I was already using, because I was actually already have those colours on my palette, but I was buying it in the actual tube itself. But the phthalo is a new way for me to be able to get my backgrounds and distance cooler and colder and to unify them as well. Even though I do find phthalo blue almost a semi-foreign colour to nature, so I'm having to almost relearn a little bit of use of colour, and that's always a great thing for an artist to have to adapt to that as well. So this looks like an earlier painting, and I think that's probably one of the other great things that in the book, it's not just all in the last 10 or 15 years of Richard's life or career. There's work right back to the early 60s. So this is one from the 70s, and you can see his style coming through so strongly way back then as well. So he was in his mind, he knew what he wanted, and I think for me that was mentioned of my own work when I was about 23, 24. A mature artist, an artist friend of my father said, you're very fortunate because you've found the way that you want to work, you love to work, and now you can just grow on that. And I think Richard did find his way very early as well, because there's one from 1958 showing, and that's probably one of the earliest ones in the book, but it is showing his direction early on. You can see that use of edge coming through, not with the same confidence, obviously, and the command that he would have, say, with in the late 80s. So that's 58, so that's just over 20 years of growth. But you can see, I think it's a gentleman by the name of Chips. You can see that confidence with the statement of the white up against the collar there. So I will start to make sure I get through quite a few of the images, because there's quite a few to get through, and I think that's the great thing. They've kept so many aside. This is one that I have never seen before, which is just another delightful painting from 63. Both of these are quite different in poses and the horizon line where that's placed, where this is more lower, that's more upper. But still fascinating, because with early work or unfinished work, or a block in, when you get to see the stages, that's when you really do get to see the artist's thinking and the artist's process really at work. And that's another one that I had not seen. Just a marvellous. It's in a kitchen scene, but just incredible. So I will start to move through so that we get to see quite a few paintings. There's a very blue dominant painting with a very yellow orange dominant painting. So really sort of getting the whole gamut of range of colour schemes as well. But it really is a Bible. Many years ago, when I got my copy of Alla Prima, Everything I Know About Painting, I think it was about 1997 that it came out, I did show it to an artist friend who I consider one of Australia's top oil painters, even though he's gone from an impressionist style to more semi-abstract and some quite abstract. The gentleman's name is Robert Simpson, and I was staying at his place, and I said, "Oh, have a really good look at it," and he took it to bed to read while he was slowing down for the evening, and in the morning he said, "It truly is a Bible of art when you look at the information." And Richard's writings on art is so influential but so enlightening as well. So, and if we just have a look at that's really got everything. And that's 1967. He was just so brilliant, so young. But the good thing is he kept pushing things further and further on. And of course the Conti black and white monochromatic work is super important to your development as well. So it's just chock full of paintings that you just may have never seen. But so we're going through all and I think the beauty with the Conti is that it does teach us the importance of the light and the darks, how to get the areas of the painting, say the skin tones, how to get them to radiate. So we've got just a whole heap of seated paintings, just all marvellous, all from the early 60s, just incredible. I think it would have been so tempting for Richard to have released these images throughout his career, and some have, but there is just so much to learn. And it is something that I am aiming to delve into myself, actually. When I was painting with Nancy, March 2024, I did mention that I was planning to get into a bit of portraiture. Still struggling to find time to really get into it, but I know I'm getting on top of all the things that I need, life things and health-wise and all of that. But if we just have a look at that, that's just amazing. But I highly recommend any of Richard's books. They are just so fairly advanced, and that's probably the trickiest part. But I think with, say, ones from 1974, they're for the painter that's more starting, and I do even though I've studied portraiture many years ago, I still do see myself as more of a beginner with portraiture, but not so much with figurative. I've always done a little bit of figurative work, and the beauty of, even if you don't want to become a portrait painter, if you're painting figures in a landscape or in a street scene, the more you understand the figure, the hands, the balance of the figure, the better. So that's why this book is sensational to study and to have as a reference. And I think this is probably one of my favourite paintings from the book, or of all figurative work that I've seen of Richard's. Carly at the piano. I've got some favourites, but this is, I have seen this one, but I haven't seen it in such detail. Just amazing. So once again, some really sensational earlier photos, and it's great to see Richard with those earlier photos as well. And there's the marvellous Nancy. So actually I might finish on that one, because there's still a third of the book to go, and I think this is a really apt spot to actually finish on. I can really say it's been a true privilege to have met Richard, even though it was only on the one occasion, but to get that few hours to talk to him one-on-one, but also to now have the chance to have painted with Nancy and visited Nancy on a few occasions. And when I'm in America, I'll surely be looking to catch up with her, and of course lots of other artist friends as well. But definitely, I can highly recommend this. It's so inspiring, and I think that's the ultimate thing. We have, as artists, generally we have long careers, and to remain inspired is super important, and Richard's work never fails and never ceases to amaze me. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. All the best. Bye for now.